Good evening, I'm Will Rosen, and you're watching a special edition of DVP News. This is our first ever virtual open house. We're broadcasting live from 3 social media platforms. I'd like to welcome everyone from Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Before we begin, I'd like to take this opportunity to speak to the future Ironman of DVP. Don Bosco Prep is much more than just a high school. It's not 4 years, it's 40 years. It's a home, a church, a school, and a playground. By the end of tonight's broadcast, you will understand why we are proud to say that we are Ironmen. Because together, we are Bosco. I look forward to meeting all of you real soon. We have a wonderful evening planned for you. And now, I send it over to the Don Bosco Prep Director of Enrollment Management, Mr. Donnelly.
Thanks, Will, and good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Donnelly, Director of Enrollment Management here at Don Bosco, and a proud member of the Ironman class of 1992. And I am thrilled to be hosting this event tonight, sitting here live in the Kelly Wellness Center here on the campus of Don Bosco Prep. I know we have a great show planned for you this evening, a lot of information. We hope to answer as many of your questions as possible during tonight's broadcast. However, we acknowledge that we may not be able to get to all of them tonight. So we will be able to touch with you regarding future opportunities to connect and engage. And as always, please feel free to email me at any time should you need some more information directly. A bit of housekeeping pertaining to tonight's program. We have a combination of live speakers and pre-recorded pieces that were specially made just for tonight's presentation. At the end of the presentation, about 40 minutes from now, we will have a Q&A session where you can submit in real time, and we will answer your questions live. Again, regardless of the viewing platform you're watching us tonight on, you will be able to submit questions. If you feel like you missed something during tonight's broadcast, please know that this video will be added to our website on our official YouTube page for you to watch again. In regards to the admissions process, whether you were in the classes of 24, 2025, younger, or perhaps a transfer student, please refer to the admissions page on our website for dates and steps in the application process. And again, do not hesitate to reach out to me directly regarding any questions about the admissions process and Don Bosco Prep. So let's get things started and let's meet our live presenters. Joining us tonight, we have Ms. Laura Hollenbach, Assistant Principal for Academics, our Principal, Mr. Manny Morelli, and an Ironman class of 2002, and the first speaker of the evening, our President, Mr. Bob Fazio.
Thank you, Mr. Donnelly, and welcome. Welcome to everybody that took time out of your busy schedule to come here this evening. I'm happy to be sitting in the studio of our multimedia pathway, led by our teaching staff and students that are bringing this presentation to you live. See, here at Don Bosco, we like to model things that we really feel are important, and this media pathway is a special pathway. Really, really proud of the efforts that are going on, and you'll see that in this demonstration. When we left here on March 13th, the last thing that I thought would happen would be that I would be presenting to you virtually on June 1st at 7 o'clock. How our world has changed. And I want you to know that here at Don Bosco, one of our great assets is the fact that we have a one-to-one iPad program, which is a wonderful, wonderful tool that we're utilizing in a very, very positive way with our homeschool connection. There'll be more talked about with that one-to-one iPad program, but we presently are in the process of beginning a training for our teachers in a couple of weeks that will be very intense, because as we all know, we may have to shift, and shift is happening here at Don Bosco on many, many levels. You know, when you walk around Don Bosco, each and every day I come here, I call it just magical, right? It's a beautiful campus, spacious, acres and acres and acres of land, and we have all of these buildings that our students get to walk to out in the fresh air every single period. I get to go out there with Mr. Morelli and other teachers, and in between every period, say hello to the boys. We have a special relationship. We are a very, very safe school. We have many protocols in place. With the large property that we have to be vigilant to make sure that our campus is safe. Safety and health are critical. And during this time of pandemic, we plan on putting a Corona task force together, which we've done, and we're brainstorming and triaging the problems that we're going to be faced with. So as we attack all of our security issues, knowing what went on in the world these years, and we have really worked hard, we are going to do the same thing with the pandemic to make sure that our students have a way in and a way out, that they're safe, and we put many, many protocols in place. See, I'm a father of 4, and my son graduated from here in 2007. So I have a very tough judge at home who says, Dad, you better make sure that you continue the legacy of what goes on. I have 3 daughters that graduated from Immaculate Heart Academy. So I'm committed to Catholic education. As a parent, I know what Catholic education did for us. We have an unbelievable campus, and greatness is what we strive for. We have a theater program that is phenomenal. Our 19 national sport teams, awesome. We have a robotics and STEM program that you'll see working on a very, very high level. Each and every one of our pathways are very, very special and very, very important to us. Academic achievement, as you'll hear in some of our speakers tonight, are what we strive for. So we strive for excellence on all levels. Our Salesian mission of our Salesians that live here carry on the charism 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And for that, I'm very, very grateful to them as well. We recently on Friday had all our seniors come back on campus. And when I tell you it was a magical day, it was. Go on our website and look at what took place that day. I know if you have been like me and watching TV and seeing what's going on, there are very concerning times that we're faced with right now. Here at Don Bosco, every single car that came on this campus on Friday said the word love, love, tears, happiness, joy. Everybody was just so happy to see each other because that's what Don Bosco's about. We love, we're empathetic, we're compassionate, we're kind, we're respectful. We accept nothing but greatness. We talk to our students, not at them. We are very, very strong in modeling the proper behavior. And I think as you go through this conversation tonight with us live and ask us any question, we won't shy away from anything because we are Bosco. And at this time, it's my great pleasure to introduce our spiritual director and leader, Father Jim User.
I'm happy to greet you, future Ironmen and Ironman families. I'm Father Jim User, the director of Don Bosco Prep, soon to begin my 11th year here at this wonderful Salesian educative and pastoral community. What makes Don Bosco Prep Don Bosco Prep? Don Bosco makes Don Bosco Prep what it is. Don Bosco, or Saint John Bosco, a priest in northern Italy in the 1800s who saw that young people, particularly adolescents, were that group who were most exposed to danger, and yet the group of society that was most rich in promise. And so he spent his life working with young people, passing through the period of adolescence. He worked with them so that they might pass safely and well through those formative years and become honorable citizens and good Christians. And he formed a community that would walk, that would accompany those young people. And he shaped what he called an oratory, his first work. He shaped it to be 4 things: a home that welcomed, where every young person who came felt at home, knew they were part of a family and they were loved. Second, a school that prepares for life. A school that concretely helped young people to launch into the real world, prepared young men of integrity and virtue, ready to contribute to society. Thirdly, a playground where friends could meet and enjoy themselves. He had all kinds of activities, all kinds of games, all kinds of athletics, all kinds of artistic events, everything that would help round out the young man, but also through those activities, they would make close friends who would remain friends with them for life. And fourthly, a parish where they could meet Jesus, encounter Jesus, and understand the deepest love of God for them. 4 things to an oratory: a home that welcomes, a school that prepares for life, a playground where you can meet friends and enjoy yourself, and a parish where you can meet Jesus and know the deepest love of God in your life. But the reason we are here, the main reason we are here, is to take young men who enter and to reach deep into their souls so they experience the deepest, deepest, deepest love of God for them, so that they know that God lives within them. And then they leave here as the honorable citizens and good Christians Don Bosco wanted them to be. So I'm happy to greet you tonight. I pray for you as you kind of try and sort out where you might want to spend your high school years. But just know that there is no place like Don Bosco Prep. And you will have no regrets if you were to come here. God bless you.
Thank you, Father Jim. This is my 5th year here at Don Bosco Prep, and this is my 15th open house that I've been lucky to be part of, even though it's the first virtual one. And I'll tell you, every time I hear Father Jim talk about that, I get very, very excited, and it's always wonderful to have him speak about the virtues and the 4 pillars of Don Bosco Prep. Up next, I'd like to introduce our principal, Mr. Manny Morelli, live in the Sacred Heart Chapel.
Thank you so much, Mr. Donnelly, and thank all of you so much for taking some time out of your schedules. I know between online school and working from home, sitting in front of a screen after dinner might not be the top priority for everybody, but the fact that you came out here tonight means the world for us. And as Mr. Donnelly said, I'm coming at you live from our Sacred Heart Chapel. It's one of 2 chapels that we have on campus. And I think it's fitting that I kind of begin my remarks in the chapel because I want to talk a little bit about the core of Salesian education. St. John Bosco, as Father Jim brought up, really spoke more than anything to what I think today we would call innovation or being countercultural in education. So what do I mean by that? In the 19th century in Europe, education was primarily just for the elite, and it was very much within the model of spare the rod and spoil the child. Don Bosco changed that whole paradigm, though, because what he did was he embraced what became known as the preventive system. And it really was focused around 3 major pillars of reason, religion, and kindness. And that reason, religion, and kindness, and the idea of using relationships as the foundation for education is key to the Salesian charism, and it is key to what makes Don Bosco Prep a separate place from any other school, and really what allows our young men to grow and to feel confident in themselves because they know that they've got connections with each other and with the faculty and staff. In other words, we care about your son, the person. We don't care just about your son, the athlete, or your son, the scholar. We don't care just about grades or college acceptances. We care about the process of growth and about your son, the person. And so right now, we're very much at this intersection of innovation and reason, religion, and kindness here in 2020. And so just to kind of think about this a little bit, obviously, as Mr. Fazio mentioned earlier, when we were leaving school on March 13th, none of us realized the pandemic's weight and how long we would be in quarantine. And ultimately, you know, we as an administration had to make some serious decisions very quickly about the direction of how to best serve our students. And I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that we didn't miss a beat, because I think any school that says, oh yeah, we did everything just like we normally would, is really not being honest with themselves, because this isn't normal. This quarantine, this pandemic, this isn't normal. This isn't the life that we're used to. This isn't what anyone signed up for. And so what we really did was we wanted to embrace the fact that things were different and meet our students with flexibility and with compassion. And so from there, we really took an asynchronous approach to our virtual learning because we wanted to respect everyone's circumstances. We don't know who's got multiple kids working from different schools doing work at home for school, whose parents may be frontline workers or healthcare heroes or first responders and are in a position where ultimately, you know, they may be getting sick, or guys that had to take care of younger siblings. And so we wanted to make sure that we embraced live synchronous sessions on Zoom and Google Meet, but also allow students to work at their own pace. The other thing that I think is really important about what sets us apart is from the very beginning, we had a student engagement task force, and our guidance and counseling department did everything in their power to embrace and focus on wellness of our students during the quarantine. Some examples of that are that we had a flex day built in where students could go to office hours, or they could catch up on all of their schoolwork, depending on how the deadlines had been proceeding, and it allowed teachers to have meetings and to be able to plan proactively to deliver top-notch instruction to our students. We had a workout of the day through our athletic department, complete with follow-along videos that you can find on our Building Ironman Online website. We have a Building Resilient Ironman support group run by our school psychologist for kids to speak about the anxieties that come along with everything going on in the world right now. And I think most importantly, we had very proactive efforts by all of our extracurricular constituents, whether it be the athletic coaches, youth ministry, or theater director, to connect with our students as things continued. So as an example, we had an Ironman improv group that our theater director started. Or even just on Saturday, the basketball team did a car parade past the nursing home of Brother Jim Wiegand, one of our Salesians who has been sick and in this facility and is so devoted to the basketball team and loves those guys, and they surprised and showed him up. That's the kind of community that we have here. That's why you want to come here, because ultimately we do everything we can to embrace who you are as a person and make sure that you're supported. In terms of innovation, Mr. Fazio also mentioned that we're going to be doing some training. We're partnering with Global Online Academy to train our teachers in a very intense week-long initiative for student-centered learning that's going to benefit them both in person and should we need to have to return to a hybrid or virtual instruction at some point. They will have the tools that will separate them from other schools. There are no other schools in the area that are partners of Global Online Academy. As a member school, we will have unlimited access to resources to make sure that our academic program is responding to whatever circumstances society throws at us in the next year. And lastly, even just today, my leadership team had a call with senior leadership at the International School of Berlin, where in Germany 5 weeks ago, schools were forced to reopen. And so we got a lot of information about what's going on and what we can expect for our protocol so that we can make sure that your sons are safe and successful. As Mr. Fazio mentioned, we've got our COVID-19 task force and our 36-acre campus to make sure that we keep everybody as healthy as possible and meet all social distancing measures or CDC guidelines as necessary. And as well, we are really excited about our social emotional learning component. Just this fall, our 9th graders are going to be participating in a guidance group class, and we're formulating a reentry support plan with our school psychologist in general. You know, I think I just want to add or end by saying that Father Jim mentioned this concept of good Christians and honorable citizens. And I think that the difference between Don Bosco Prep and other schools is that we care about your son's soul, and we want to make sure that these are boys who become young, confident men who understand to have their talents to use others, who are prepared for college, and they're grounded in their values and know themselves. And I can tell you from personal experience, because I graduated from Don Bosco Prep, I knew who I was as a man. I knew who I wanted to be as a professional. I knew that I had a calling to help serve other people because this place instilled in me those values. And I sit before you today honored and humbled to work with some of the most dedicated and compassionate teachers that I have ever seen. And I couldn't be more proud to be part of this institution. So thank you all very much for your time this evening. And I hope to see you all back on campus in Ramsey soon. I'd like to pass it back to Mr. Donnelly. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mr. Morelli. Moving on, I'd like to introduce Ms. Laura Hollenbach, Assistant Principal for Academics here at Bosco, live up in the Leo room. Ms. Hollenbach?
Thank you, Mr. Donnelly, and hello, everyone. I'm happy to have the opportunity to speak to you about some of the defining characteristics of the Ironman academic experience. First and foremost, we see our students as individuals. We intentionally place them in courses for which they're well suited, and from there, at every level, college prep, honors, and advanced, we challenge them, we help them learn about themselves, and we support them in achieving their potential. The anchor of a Don Bosco Prep education is something we refer to as the 5 C's, a set of core competencies that we believe every Ironman must achieve: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, community. These are the portable skills and mindsets that we know that our students need to be successful. And what I mean by successful is not just here in their classes, but in life. So a Don Bosco Prep graduate is not just very well prepared for college, he's ready for a world that will bring uncertainty, but will always require those 5 C's. So we are student-centered, we meet our students where they are, and we set the bar high for everyone. And through the relationships we build and the supports we put in place, we graduate young men who know how to think, who know how to solve problems, and who want to make a difference in the world around them. We provide a strong liberal arts curriculum. The typical freshman schedule includes biology, world history, composition and literature, math, theology, a world language, and an elective. And I want to talk a little bit about our electives because we've done something really special in the last couple of years. So we have our academic pathways. And this is a way for students with a particular interest in a certain elective area to really concentrate over the course of their time here and to combine a classroom learning component with an experiential component. And so the pathways allow for a more concrete application of those 5 C's. We have 4 pathways currently: business, communication arts, engineering, and fine and performing arts. Students, they're optionals, and students in a pathway would take a certain sequence of courses that culminates in a senior capstone project. And really, it's a great way for students to sort of take what they're learning in the classroom and apply it to real world situations. So as Mr. Donnelly said, I'm actually in our Leo program classroom here. Leo is a subset of our business pathway. It stands for leadership, entrepreneurship, and opportunity. And the students in this program spend their time in this classroom. And you can see by the technology and the sort of corporate contemporary setup that the space facilitates opportunities for our students to interface with industry professionals. So as Mr. Fazio and Mr. Morelli said, certainly the spring of 2020 required us to adapt the way that we teach. So we leverage technology in new ways to continue our work. We do have a one-to-one iPad program, so we were able to pivot quickly, which was great. And a lot of our teachers were already doing things like flipping their classrooms and using our Bosco backpack system to use assessments and assignments. And we really just kept moving forward and growing and learning and trying new things. And even in our most hands-on classes, our students kept moving ahead. Our engineering design students, for instance, they built boats and bridges at home. Our AP Studio Art students put the finishing touches on their portfolios and uploaded them to College Board. And of course, I have to give a special shout out to our communication arts guys, who not only continued their awesome morning broadcasts, but put together all sorts of great videos and live streamed events, including this virtual open house tonight. So that is really what you call hands-on learning. So as we've said, this is a time of intentional transformation at Don Bosco Prep. Although we will never set aside our traditions or change who we are at our core, we do understand that it is important for us to continue to learn and grow and shift in ways that benefit our students so that we can develop them as whole human beings and empower them for life. At this time, I'd like to turn things back to Mr. Donnelly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hollenbach. Now I would like to share with you a short piece conceptualized and created by the Comm Arts students here at Don Bosco Prep. Enjoy.
I fabricated, assembled, and shipped out 15 3D printed prosthetic hands. Here's an example. So there are these little strings that go from the gripper box through the hand, around and back and up to the fingers, even on the thumb too. And so you press down on this part and it will cause the hand to actually close. Like so.
All the lessons that you taught me, and just thank you for always being there to help me whenever I needed it, and have a great summer.
Thank you, boys. I miss you. I love you all. Thank you for the best 4 years of my life, and many more to come. Thank you.
Wow, I didn't realize that we had the opportunity to get some of the clap out that happened here on Friday into that sizzle reel. That was fantastic. Well done to the Comm Arts students. You guys certainly did a great job, and I didn't just how quickly you worked. Well done, guys. So I hope you've enjoyed what we have shared with you thus far. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to some questions and answers that some of the questions upon registering for this event you were able to propose to us. So let's take a couple of these questions as they came in already. Our first question: are any of your graduates accepted into the military academies? Mr. Morelli, I think that's a good one for you to handle.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Donnelly. And again, another shout out to the Comm Arts students. You guys are amazing. So thank you for everything you've been doing tonight and this whole year, really, but especially in the last few months. So in terms of our service academies, in the past 4 years, we've had 4 guys accepted to Navy, 5 accepted to West Point, 2 to the Citadel, and 3 to the Air Force Academy. So those are definitely some impressive numbers given the size of our school. You know, I could go on and on about all of the accolades that we get in terms of scholarship money and the number of Ivy League schools that we accept our students into, which was 38 in the last 4 years. But I think it's more important to focus on the way we approach the college search. So it's very impressive, our young men's accomplishments. They speak for themselves, but our whole guidance approach to the college search is to really focus on the student knowing himself and thinking about what's going to be the best fit. So for example, if you're somebody who needs a little bit more support from faculty and is used to going after school for extra help all the time, a smaller liberal arts school might make more sense than a major research institution with 50,000 kids. And so we have a pretty intense process in which the students have to identify who they are at their core and what they're looking for. And then the counselors take great care to make sure that the list that is compiled for their final application list is going to be a set of schools where they're really going to be successful. So I think it's, it's great that we've got some rock star students that go off to, internationally famous schools, but the reality is every single one of our boys gets accepted to college, and every single one of our boys gets into a school that he is really excited about. So we do find out that our students have a lot of success in that regard. So I'm really proud of that.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Morelli. Our second question is, what extra reading and writing support do you offer students? Ms. Hollenbach, I think this is a good one for you to field.
This is a great question. It is, I think, one of the most important questions for people to ask as they're considering a school. And I will tell you that I think support is something we do really well here at Don Bosco Prep. Really, it begins with our teachers, who are a tremendously dedicated, committed group of people. They are here every day after school for extra help, and many of them are here actually in the morning before the school day starts. And I really think that any student who takes advantage of that opportunity to connect with his teacher is better off because of it. We have an extensive peer tutoring network through multiple honor societies, through National Honor Society, and then we have various subject-specific honor societies: math, English, foreign languages, science. We also have an athletic study hall program that provides structured time between the end of the school day and the time that practices start, where our athletes can go get their homework done and also benefit from peer tutors within their respective sports. Of course, we have a robust learning needs program that provides a variety of services in conjunction with Bergen County Special Services. We have resource room teachers and many ways that students in the learning needs program can access support. And then, of course, I have to really point out our great counselors who, through the guidance department, do things like organize study skills workshops, time management workshops. We have a STEPS program, which is sort of a layered and more comprehensive support program for students that need a little bit of extra support. And really, I just think that what I have seen in my years here is that those students who really advocate for themselves and access what's available to them make the most of their time here and really meet their potential. So thanks for that question.
Very good one, Ms. Hollenbach. All right, the third question that was proposed to us upon registering for this program: what are the requirements and steps in the admissions process? And I think I'm going to field that one, being the Director of Enrollment Management. I will be your main contact here for the admissions process to help anybody interested in applying to Don Bosco Prep. Again, you can always refer to our website, to the admissions page, which has information pertaining to rising ninth grade students, the traditional applicant, or perhaps transfer students, to take a look at what steps are needed for Don Bosco. The transcripts, online application are needed for everyone. If you are a rising ninth grader, we also ask that you take the HSPT exam, which will be given us by the Archdiocese of Newark in November. Those are really the three main pieces for a rising ninth grader. A transfer student would be the online application and transcripts and any sort of standardized testing for the last 3 years. One thing that does set us apart from other schools is that we do ask for letters of recommendation. And these letters of recommendation, we ask for current math teacher, current English or language arts teacher, depending on what it's called at your school, as well as general letters of recommendation. These are great opportunities for us to learn more about you. I know watching something like this open house, you're trying to learn more about Bosco, but really we want to learn more about you too. And it's very often that we learn so much about students and their families through these letters of recommendation. And there's so many unique things that our students do that don't appear on a transcript. And that's why the more we can find out about you, the more we're able to help, support, and guide you moving forward as a student in here and then even after Don Bosco Prep. So that's a great question. I love talking about the letters of recommendation. The next question, what does a typical day look like for a freshman? And which classes do they take? I think, Mr. Fazio, can you start us off with this one, and then maybe Ms. Hollenbach, you can piggyback on the end of that?
Well, a typical day at Don Bosco starts at probably about 6:45, when myself, along with Mr. Morelli And Mr. Moore, our assistant principal, along with staff members, greet our students right out at the front of the school. We have a very, very active presence of a lot of teachers that meet our students on a daily basis. We're out there for 45 to 50 minutes a day. I think it's very, very important for us to say good morning to the parents and to the students as they're dropped off. And they go to homeroom and then they carry their regular class load. I think one of the things that I love about Don Bosco is the fact that they're able to go outside from class to class. It's like a collegiate campus, which is really a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. I get to interact with these young men every day, and we get to know them by first name basis. You know, my son graduated from here in 2007. He came in as a young boy, and he left as a man. And his choice of college was to go to Hawaii at Pacific. I mean, I was so proud that we chose Don Bosco because he had the inner fortitude to know that that's a school where he wanted to go. Very, very proud, very, very challenging for us as parents, but very, very proud that he took that leap. And I'd like to defer to Ms. Hollenbach to talk a little bit more about the schedule, how we have and what we do. We're really, really big on rigor, relevancy, and relationship building, the 3 R's. Very, very important, and it's embedded into everything that we do. So, Ms. Hollenbach?
Thank you, Mr. Fazio. Right, so I mentioned earlier that we offer a strong liberal arts curriculum, and we do that because we feel it's important for our students to be exposed to both the humanities and the STEM subjects. While there may be some differences with 9th grade math, depending on what students did in middle school, typically freshmen are taking either algebra or geometry, and some of our students are taking algebra 2 trig when they come in as freshmen. I would not have been in their math classes as a freshman. Our freshman science is biology. We have world history, composition and literature. Theology is a requirement for all 4 years. And then most of our students take a world language. Some of the students who are in the learning needs program who have a language exemption would spend that period of the day working with a resource room teacher. I think it's important to really understand that at Don Bosco Prep, whatever level you are at, you will be pushed. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily think will be the case, but time and again, I see our teachers able to really stretch our students at any level that they're at. And so that's an important part of what we do here, because we believe that every student comes to us ready to learn and has great potential to grow during his 4 years here. And just in terms quickly of the electives, I'd like to point out that we do have students that kind of bounce between different electives over the course of the years. And it's kind of good for them because it not only helps them figure out what they like, but sometimes you figure out what you don't like. So I think that we've got structure, if you want it, in the electives in terms of the pathways, but then we've got some flexibility too that allows students to kind of experiment from one year to the next. And I think that they benefit from that. Thank you. Thanks for that question.
Great, thanks, Ms. Hollenbach. Again, we are answering questions that were proposed to us upon registering for this event. We'll get to the live questions here in a couple of minutes as they're getting organized and sorted on the back end of this. The next one we have, Mr. Fazio, I know tonight you said we're here to answer difficult questions, so maybe we can put this one to you. My son is an athlete. How will sports look next year?
Thanks, Mr. Donnelly. Great question. Quite honestly, I don't know. There's been a lot of conversations around a lot of scenarios. Personally, I have a daughter who's an athlete at UConn. They just cut her sport program. Eight programs will cut there. So the landscape of what we're about to embark on is going to be very, very challenging. The NJSIAA, which is the governing board for all our athletic programs, has had some conversations, but no real clear direction. So what we have been doing is just looking at different scenarios of how we can do the best that we possibly can under the circumstances and the guidelines that we'll be faced with. The CDC has put out guidelines of how we will reopen our campus. We plan on trying to reopen our campus around June 15th with really good protocols in place. But our athletic programs at this point in time, we still don't have that direction. One thing that we have done during this pandemic is each and every morning I meet with a cabinet. That's the administrators, the department chairs. We have a faculty meeting once a week. We believe in clear and constant communication. That's the key to success. We also have been talking a lot about shift and how that shift is going to happen. Listen, let's face it, the way we left March 13th is not the way we're going to return June 15th. We don't even know about our summer sports programs, where they're going right now. We've been using a lot of good common sense with a lot of what we're trying to develop here. What are going to be the guidelines around social distancing in a classroom? We have been given no guidelines to this point in time. We're putting together a plan. It will be a blueprint for success. I promise you that. And we will communicate it with everyone. We know that a big part of what we have to do right now is be proactive in what we can control. Hand sanitizers out every single classroom. As students go up to the field, they'll go up a certain way and come down a certain way. We'll sanitize our fields and all our athletic facilities in a different way using the CDC guidelines around what is the best formula to get rid of all type of viruses on our surface. So we're looking at everything. We promise you that everything that we do will be detailed. We believe in paying attention to detail. We believe in collaboration. We believe in unity of purpose. And we believe that the sports is an integral part of what we're about. 65% of our students are in the sports program. And I want to jump on one other thing. Ms. Hollenbach was talking about student potential. We try to maximize every student's potential, and we try to maximize every athlete's potential to the best of their ability. And while I'm on about the athletes, it's really important for you to know that every child in this school needs a place and a home. Even during our lunch periods, very important that nobody is to eat lunch alone. We pride ourselves on connecting our students to someone or some adult. Our lunch periods next year is going to be a different formula. We have to practice social distancing. So we're putting together a lot of grand ideas. Once we have our blueprint, once we know what the guidelines are from the state, once we know what the guidelines are from the NJSIAA, we will be able to move forward. But we want you to know when we move forward, we will communicate it with each and every one of you. And we have a formula here at Don Bosco. You are our constituents. You are what's most important to us. You're what's most important to me. I have a 24-hour rule. If a parent reaches out to us or a student reaches out to us in less than 24 hours, they had better get a call from somebody, because that's the way I roll as a president, and I know that's the way Father Jim rolls as a director. So our administrative team, led by Manny Morello, Laura Hollenbach, and Chris Moore, emphasized that, and we are really, really clear about our messaging. I'd also like to ask you to take a look at our website and look at what's happened during this pandemic. Easter Sunday, we had a virtual Easter egg hunt. It was tremendous. Go online and look at it. Let that talk to you. I always talk to my staff about letting the campus speak for itself. We don't have to talk about all our highlights. Look at our virtual concert we had a week ago Sunday. Over 1,500 people participated in looking at our virtual concert that was done by all alumni of Don Bosco Prep that are magnificent musicians around the world, by the way. And it was put together for our heroes, our frontline heroes, law enforcement, doctors, nurses, the truck drivers, our frontline heroes that are serving us in such a positive way. Really proud to be a part of this community. And I look forward to communicating with all of you as more information comes ahead.
I just want to jump and piggyback quickly off of Mr. Fazio. Going back to the original question specifically around athletics, our coaches have done a phenomenal job of keeping our boys connected. So just as an example, our head lacrosse coach, last Thursday night began his leadership lecture series on Zoom. And I was fortunate enough to be able to tune in to listen to a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army be able to speak about his experience and what it means to be a leader and engage in a dialogue with our boys. So really, when we think about the athletics here, of course, there is the actual competition and the getting in shape that's important, the practicing that's important. But the programs didn't fall dead in the water, even though we were placed under quarantine. And I think it's really important to realize that it's just an extension of the classroom. When I meet the coaches at the beginning of each season, I remind them that they are educators first. And winning and getting the wonderful reputation of being an athletic powerhouse is great, but to me, it's more the character building that comes first. And I'm really proud of our coaching staff here because they take that. And I just want to say it's an extension of something we take very seriously here, our honor code, which is the pillars of integrity, respect, optimism, being natural, mental focus, empathy, and being noble and true to yourself. So all of that is just an extension of the athletics program. And while there are unknowns, as Ms. Hollenbad said, we know who we are at our core, and we will stay true to our identity, even as we have to shift based on circumstances.
If I could just jump in and say one more thing here about teams, I'd like to champion our robotics team. Our robotics team was primed to do a phenomenal job at the state competition. I go every year to it. It's an unbelievable event. These young men and volunteers, and led by Father Luke Kolopinski, put together 7 days a week a robot and a competition that was second to none. And on the day that they were supposed to have their competition, the pandemic hit. They worked for a whole year around producing. And it's such a team effort. It's a very, very high level, sophisticated competition. I really want to give them a shout out. We plan on saluting them in the near future because we recognize all our teams are important to us. Every team in this school matters to us. And I just wanted to give them a shout out for their hard work.
Great, thanks, Mr. Fazio. I think we have a question from YouTube. Chance asks, how many of the football players go to D1 schools? That's a good question, and I'm going to start this one off, and then maybe Mr. Morelli or Mr. Fazio, you can piggyback on. I know from an athletic standpoint, look, Don Bosco Prep has a wonderful reputation. We have 19 sports programs here. I know, our facilities. We play on a national stage. We have 3 national championships here, 2 in football, one in baseball, multiple state championships. Our football program has certainly had a lot of prominent success here over the years. We're very excited about the direction that program is headed in and some of the opportunities that many of our student athletes have. How many get Division I scholarships? Look, we are a stop on every coach's recruiting circuit. They're going to stop here. We have good players. We have talented players, and college coaches are going to stop here and recruit Don Bosco Prep football players as well as the Don Bosco Prep students and guys involved in every different sport. And we're very, very proud of our traditions here athletically. But I think it's not so much even the D1 guys as their students that, again, I think Mr. Morelli talked about, finding the school that's the right fit for you. And it might be a Division II, a Division III school. And I think that those are opportunities from an athletic standpoint that we offer our students. And, for the football program, which is led under the direction of Mr. Danny Sabella, doing a fantastic job, to all the other programs that we have here at Bosco. And I think that there's plenty of opportunity for our students. Mr. Morelli or Mr. Fazio, would you like to add on to that a little bit?
Yeah, I'll jump in. As a Division I athlete myself who received a scholarship and 2 daughters that play Division I athletics, I can say that I don't know the number exactly of how many football players go D1. But here's what I could tell you, that every day there's Division I coaches on this campus looking at football players, along with all our other sports. I've never seen anything to the level of coaches from a Division I level that come to a school. And I've been in this business for decades, but by far, Don Bosco is far superior to any place I've ever been when it comes to college coaches that recruit Division I athletics. So I hope that helps answer and frame your question.
Great. Fantastic, Mr. Fazio. I think we're going to move on to another question. I know we have a lot of questions coming in on many different platforms. And again, we're going to do our best to get to everything tonight. If there's something we miss, I will share with you opportunities for us to engage in the future and get you the answers that you need. Mr. O'Hare asks, do you guys have new clubs every year? This is certainly something that we love to talk about. We have over 65 clubs here at Don Bosco Prep for so many different areas. But I think, Mr. Morelli, is that something you'd like to tackle for us right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for your question. And one of the things that I want to say is that we allow students to start their own clubs every year. And the approval process involves having to speak with our assistant principal for student affairs, Mr. Moore, fill out an application once you've got a teacher that commits to being your moderator. And ultimately, it comes across my desk. I can tell you without fail, this year, I think I had 7 or 8 applications for new clubs alone, in addition to the ones that are already active. We've got literally everything under the sun. Veterans Affairs Club, Ping Pong Club, Video Game Club. We've got kids that go and come and say the rosary right here in this chapel weekly after school. We've got the Mission Club that does all kinds of service opportunities, including throwing a Christmas party for students in Elizabeth, in a urban Catholic school. We have basically anything that you can think of, including intramurals. So if you're somebody that isn't super competitive around sports and doesn't want to take the time for the varsity level necessarily, but you want to just get a group of your buddies to play volleyball or basketball or flag football, we have that as well. So we've got tons of opportunities. I'd say our youth ministry program is very, very strong in terms of activity. And then also we have a brand new, as I mentioned, Ironman improv troupe. And our theater arts program is second to none in the area. We actually just won an award through Montclair State University for best original music composition for our original production of Frankenstein, which was actually adapted and written by our director, which was really cool. So you want to get involved, you can basically do anything you want.
Great. Thanks, Mr. McCoy. If I could add on to that, just one of our, connectivity for students is really, really important here at Bosco. One position we do have here is the title of engagement coordinator. That was a new position last year. A gentleman by the name of Mr. Dylan Ferrier, who runs is the engagement coordinator here, and his job is to connect students, to find out exactly who you are, what's your hidden talent, what platform, skill set, goal do you have in life, and get guys headed in the right direction, and get students connected with one another. And I think that certainly it's just paid huge dividends for us this year, and I'm thrilled that we had an opportunity to get Mr. Ferrier off and running. Okay, the next one. Do you have a crew team? This is a great question. And being that I am live now in the Kelly Wellness Center, I know it's hard to see behind me, but in front of me, we have the Ryan Vasallo Crew Corner. There's about 30 erg machines that fit into this space over here. This is a space where our crew team certainly trains on a year-round basis. They do all sorts of different races, from the Head of the Charles to going down to Philadelphia. I know they're in various races in rivers around New Jersey as well. So our crew team is certainly a very vibrant and successful program, and we're very lucky to have just a great crew team here. All right, let's go to the next question. Mr. Clark, what is the schedule like for a student? Ms. Rombach, maybe I think they're probably referring to maybe the morning time, the start of the class day to the end of the class day. Can you talk about that, please?
Sure. I will talk about it as if we are in life, as in normal life, right? Not pandemic life. We start homeroom at 7:25, and each student has 7 classes that he takes. But we only have 6 classes that meet each day. So we have 50-minute periods, and our schedule rotates. So you have 6 classes one day, and then the next day, whatever you had last, on that previous day you don't have, and then the one that was missing comes back up to the top. So we cycle through a week like that, which is nice because then, you know, you're not always sitting in what you think is maybe the most boring class for the first period of the day, or your teacher isn't having the same group of students sleeping first period. We rotate the sleepers. So it's kind of it's a good schedule because it allows us to kind of shift up the energy a little bit. The drop schedule is something that we put in place because we felt that it would help our students in terms of time management to not have to be worrying about homework for 7 classes every single day. So there's a little bit of breathing space in there, and a little bit of extra time to be able to complete some work on the day that you have a class that drops. We end the school day at 1:40, so we get out early. And, you know, that's really when all of the fun starts after the school day. And we've got a continually vibrant campus full of sports and all of these clubs and activities that you're talking about. Thanks.
If I could just add on to that, Ms. Hollenbaugh, one of the things that I want to talk to the parents about as a parent, what's really important to me is to know that your sons are safe on this campus. So, you know, I adopt a Marine mantra, first in and last out. I'm here at 6 o'clock every morning. Every morning I come at 6 o'clock. So if you have an early job that you have to get to, your son will be given access to Savio Hall to swipe his card electronically and go into Savio Hall. And my office looks right at Savio Hall, so I know exactly who's on campus and when they're on campus. We have an app on our phone that lets us know who is opening what door and what time that door is being opened. We are very, very open campus, but a very, very safe campus. I'd also like to talk a little bit about the after-school activities. This campus is alive and well till 10 o'clock every single night. And our Salesian presence that here allows the administrators that are on this virtual tour to get some sleep at night, knowing that our campus is safe, that the Salesians are here, that there's a presence, that the boys will be okay. They know exactly what they have to do. We also have a head of security who's a retired Bergen County cop who carries a gun because we feel that it's important. He doesn't show it, but it's important for you to know that he has all kinds of access to Homeland Security and intel that we get immediately. When you come on campus, we have a license plate reader that tells me who's coming onto campus. So, you know, safety to me is critical. We have a big campus. While we believe in the Salesian and Don Bosco open campus, and we have like a college campus, we want you to know that it's safe and that your son will be safe here from 6 a.m. till 10 at night. You never have to worry about them being warm and being fed. This is a home that welcomes all hours of the day.
Great, thanks, Mr. Fazio. That's a great question. Certainly our school day is there's a lot going on. We all know that from a really, really early start in the day. We have a question from Jameson Luis. What are the uniforms like? I know we'd love to have Mr. Moore here today, our AP for Student Affairs. I'm sure he'd love to tackle that one. But I thought maybe Mr. Morelli, is that something you could talk about, or Ms. Hollenbach?
Yeah, I can speak about that briefly. So we have a requirement where all of our students have to buy a Don Bosco Prep school issued polo shirt. And then from there, we can ultimately have you wear either shorts or pants that are from Flynn and O'Hara, a uniform company, that are khaki and that are flat. And then also the fact that if you're wearing shorts, you can wear white shoes. Otherwise, you have to be in Flynn and O'Hara dress shoes. So once you're a senior at the second half of your senior year, you're in a position ultimately where you get some relaxations on that dress code, and you can wear your college shirt and you can wear whatever shoes you want. So that's our uniform.
Great. Great. Thanks, Mr. Morelli. I know we've had a couple of questions. Again, we're trying to get to all of them, but I think we're getting close to wrapping things up. I know that we had some questions about transportation. We have students that come from about 130 different towns. So please, let's connect moving forward in the future. I will be sending out some opportunities to engage on transportation questions, because they really do. It really depends on where you're from, whether it's New York or New Jersey or all the different counties. So, well, if you have any questions or need more information, please do not hesitate to email me at cdonnelly@donboscoprep.org. I think it's really important that we continue to have rapport and connect, and I do want to connect with people and help you through navigating through this process. I'd like to give a special thanks and a shout out to the entire production crew and participants this evening. Absolutely fantastic job. The amount of work that went into the pre-production and the production of this program, I think we have about 6 people behind the scenes, students and adults. So it's absolutely fantastic, the team effort that went on here tonight. And to you, the viewer, thank you for joining us this evening. This was truly a great opportunity to interact with you and demonstrate all that Don Bosco Prep has to offer. We look forward to working with all of those interested in becoming Ironman families. And know that we are strong.
We are resilient.
We are Ironmen.
We are Bosco.
Yeah!